Okay guys, this is the 8 winning core flows that is going to generate a ton of revenue for your e-commerce store, literally just on autopilot. And you can actually find this file down in the video description, where you can go in and take a look for yourself. Now, full disclaimer here, the frameworks that I'm about to show you isn't actually tailored or specific to any e-commerce niche. So depending on what you sell and who you actually sell to, you may want to add or remove some emails to get the best results out of this. But that being said, let's get into the first flow here, which is actually the welcome flow. Now, this flow is typically the biggest flow. It generates the most amount of revenue. And for this to work, you need to link it to an actual pop-up on your store, whether that be incentivizing people for 10% free shipping, buy one, get one free, anything to get them to give us their email address so we can then send them through this flow. Now, people will exit this flow if they make a purchase or go to the checkout or add something to cart. So that is something to remember when you're adding in the flow filters. But basically, the first email we want to send here, as soon as they sign up and they still haven't made a purchase, we want to send them a welcome email. I like to have this email super short, super easy to read and understand, because the main thing we want to get across is giving them the incentive that they actually signed up for. So again, that may be the 10% off, free shipping, buy one, get one free. Whatever we offered them in the actual pop-up is what we want to give them in this email. So we want to make sure the design is super clear, super easy to read and understand, where customers can go straight back to the email, open it, and see the codes, the button back to the website so they can make their first purchase. Now, typically this email is the one that generates the most amount of revenue. So what we can do here is, if someone doesn't open this first email in the first 24 hours, we can send them the exact same carbon copy email, maybe with a different subject line, if they haven't opened it. If they have, we continue down. I like to do a personal plain text email from the founder, again, just welcoming them in. And this is really good just as a personal touch, kind of humanizes your brand a bit more and makes it feel a bit more real to the customers who are still just on the fence about buying from you. They're not quite sure whether your product is legit, whether it's a scam. A third email I like to do is either a brand story email, where we go over the brand story's values, how they came up with a business, and all of that jazz. Again, adds a humanized feel. Or another good alternative is actually going over your unique selling propositions. So what makes you different from the market, from your competitors. All of that is really good stuff to point out to the customer in case they are shopping around at other stores for a similar product that you sell. Another good email is a social proof email. So this is where you highlight customer reviews to actually build credibility and trust within the customer that your product is viable, it's a real thing, and it's quality. That is a super powerful email to send. A best sellers email is usually a good one after that. This helps customers that aren't really sure which one to buy, especially if your store sells multiple SKUs. This is really important. It just kind of shows off any safe choices that the customer can make, and gives them a good range to choose from. Now, this is where we get to a 24-hour incentive expiry reminder. This pushes a lot of urgency to the customer and tells them that they're 10% off, their free shipping, whatever we offered them in the pop-up initially is about to expire in 24 hours. And just a side note here, in all of these emails I just mentioned, we should be teasing that discount code or that free shipping in each of the emails as well, just to get them back to the website and make their first purchase, because that's really the entire purpose of the welcome flow here. Now, you don't have to do this, but a plain text email from the founder just 4 hours before the discount code expires is, again, just adds that bit more urgency, gives it a bit more of a personal touch, that the founder is, reaching out to them personally and giving a last minute reminder for their code. Now, I usually like to do a long delay here if people still haven't purchased at this point. and before we actually introduce a new, stronger offer, maybe 15% off, 20% off. But again, it's only for 48 hours. And again, the last email is just another reminder email saying that it's about to expire. So that is the welcome flow I typically set up for my clients. That works really well. I wouldn't be worried about making it too long. People do take quite a while to actually convert and make a purchasing decision. And that is that. Okay, so the next flow that we've got here is the site abandonment flow. So this is kind of like the next step in the sale funnel of any typical e-commerce store. And this triggers when someone lands on your website but doesn't click on any product, just has a small little browse before exiting. So this email is really just a small nudge and guides them towards maybe like a collection on what they may like or prefer. So for example, if your store is selling phone cases, you can guide an iPhone customer towards a collection of Apple phone cases and vice versa for like a Samsung user. So the next one on the step is the browse abandonment flow. Now this is again usually a strong email flow you can implement, and this is for anyone that comes onto your website and actually clicks a product but doesn't add to cart, doesn't go any further along the sales funnel. So this is again just encouraging customers what they viewed was a great pick, and we can direct them back to the store to have another look and potentially, hopefully, make a purchase. Now, if that doesn't work, we give them a 2-day delay, and this is where we want to show off some social proof, some testimonials, and it's really good for a single SKU store. So if you're like a one product store, you can actually tailor the email to educate them around your one product. That is a really good idea. And if that still doesn't work, I've just recently been testing this with a new client, and it is working really, really well. We give them a 3-day delay before we send them a plain text email just from the founder again, giving them the heads up that the item is now low on stock, and they only have about 24 hours, 48 hours until it may be out of stock and it won't return for some time. Again, this is a big urgency play here, and you need to be very careful with how you frame this. But then we do a 22-hour delay. We make an official low stock alert email for the item they actually viewed, and something a bit official like this can get them to really take action. Okay, so the next two flows here is the abandoned cart flow and the abandoned checkout flow. I usually copy these flows to be the exact same, except maybe a few minor tweaks with the copy. But the reasoning behind this is it's basically the same step in the sales funnel, except the only difference is people who enter the abandoned cart flow is people who just add something to their cart without clicking the checkout button, and the abandoned cart flow is when people add something to the cart and click the checkout button before exiting the website for whatever the reason may be. One more thing to note here is in Klaviyo, the actual templates that they give you, they call the abandoned checkout flow the abandoned cart flow, which is super confusing. If you want a true abandoned cart flow, you will actually have to add a snippet of code into your website to get the added to cart trigger. You should be able to tell if your abandoned cart is a bit of a dodgy, is if the trigger is checkout started. So that being said, let's just walk through this abandoned cart flow. Like I said, this is for anyone that has just added a product to the cart before leaving the website, getting distracted, whatever the reason may be. And you've got to be super careful with the flow filters and make sure the started checkout is 0 times since starting this flow, meaning if they did go on to click the checkout button, they'll be moved into the abandoned checkout flow. So I usually do a split test for this for time delays. Usually a shorter time delay has performed higher for me, but again, this is something you want to test for your own e-commerce store. I would recommend testing 30 minutes or 4 hours just to get started. But basically, again, this is the same email. And this first email, you want it to be super simple, super lighthearted, just a simple reminder that they left items at the checkout, and possibly add some social proof down the bottom. Second email, again, social proof is a big one because they're just off from buying. They obviously have some sort of objection. Maybe it's the price, maybe they looked at the product a bit more and not completely sure about the quality, or maybe the shipping times may be a bit slow. You want to address those objections in the social proof that you include in the second reminder. Now, what I've also seen work with some clients is actually offer out a small discount. You can, again, put conditional splits here so it only gets sent to first-time customers or returning loyal customers that you want to send this small incentive or discount to. But again, make it seem like this small discount is only for them because they have left their carts at the checkout, and it's just a small little nudge, small little push to actually make the leap and make the purchase. Again, you can just do a last email here. Usually plain text works because it gets into their primary inbox more often than not, and you can send this from the founder, giving them a last-ditch effort for their discount code that we gave them the previous day. So again, like I said, that's the exact same structure as the abandoned checkout flow. So let's move over to the post-purchase flow, which again isn't really focused on sales unless you put in an upsell email. But typically we just like to do a custom thank you for first time, second time, third time, and so on. Different types of customers. And the flow filters here are really simple. You don't want to be sending a thank you email to anyone that's cancelled their order. So you want to make sure this flow filter is turned on. First email again is just a thank you email. If you have a one product store, you can provide instructions on how best to use the product. Second email here is usually a day after the first, and you can again send it from the founder, making it like a more personal thank you. And that's really good to build just customer to brand relationship. And the third email here is usually a really strong email to get more people to follow on your social media platforms. This will have a really high click rate because remember, this is kind of like the time where the customer is most engaged with your brand because they're eagerly waiting for that product to actually arrive at their door, and they're going to be opening any emails that you send them. So really good time to utilize this to get more people to follow you on social media and stay in the loop pretty much. The second and third time customer paths are pretty much the same. Again, if you have like Instagram and Facebook, I usually do Instagram for the first social media email and Facebook for the second time customers. Now, third time customers, you can announce that they are more like a VIP customer and that you're going to add them to the VIP list. So they will get more further rewards and discounts, maybe on your email campaigns. That's a really good one to include. Again, you can also do a long delay here and just put out an automated special offer for the new VIP customers. But again, this is really specific to your brand and depending on what you sell. Okay, so let's move on to the customer win-back flow. So this is anyone that has previously purchased at your store and they haven't revisited your site in quite a while again. So you're trying to engage them, reach back out to them so they come back and make another purchase. So again, here is the flow filters. Anyone that hasn't purchased or been on your website for the last 60 or 40 days, we want to send them a very personalized email back to them. We want to link that back to the last item they actually purchased. So what I've done here is add a few conditional splits depending on how many collections you may have. So for this framework in particular, it has 3 different collections. So again, going back to that example with the phone cases, if someone has previously bought an Apple phone case, most likely than not, they are an Apple customer with an iPhone. So you want to send them a personalized email directing them back to the Apple collection. And going back to the second email in this pathway, we could even introduce a discount code Again, you could make this text-based, again, from the founder, just to reach back out to them and make sure this email is going into their primary inbox rather than just their promotions or spam. Okay, guys, so the last and final flow is the sunset unengaged flow. And basically what this does is it cleans out, or at least helps clean out, inactive subscribers in your list. So this typically doesn't generate any revenue. We're just trying to reach out to people who haven't opened or clicked our emails in the last 120 days. And from there, we can filter them out and suppress them so we aren't getting charged for them inside of your Klaviyo bill. So again, this typically is good to do every month or so, but this process will automate it a bit. So for this to work, you need to create an inactive subscriber segmented list. I usually do anyone that hasn't opened or clicked our emails in the last 120 days. And as soon as they enter that list, we can set up a trigger where we will send them a plain text email from the founder, just asking them where they've been, if they're still interested, and if not, we give them the option to actually unsubscribe. Now, if the recipient here still hasn't opened or click their email, we send them another email about 15 days later. Again, kind of the same thing from the founder, plain text, so it has more chance of landing in their primary inbox rather than spam or promotions. Just asking if they want to be active again or if it's good just to let things go and unsubscribe. If they still don't open or answer our email, we can actually set a custom trigger here. They'll automatically put this recipient to suppressed. And then you can create another segmented list for anyone that is suppressed with that custom profile to their name. And every month or so, you can just delete or actually suppress these customers. Just to clarify on that is a custom profile that you can create inside of the flows. That won't actually automatically suppress them. You will need to create a second segmented list here for people that are tagged as suppressed, so you can actually suppress them. So guys, that is the 8 core flows that I recommend having in any e-commerce store looking to grow. I hope that helped. And again, there is a link in the description where you can find this file. We can have a look through yourself and take it from there. Cheers, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.